The Women's March on Washington featured speakers, celebrity appearances and a protest walk along the National Mall. The march was planned as a counter-argument to Trump's populist presidential campaign, in which he angered many on the left with comments seen as demeaning to women, Mexicans and Muslims. For more on the story, we now cross to our correspondent Sherwin Bryce Pease, who's in Washington. Sherwin, thanks for joining us again. Now, when we spoke to you a little bit earlier on, the sentiments were clear. For the most part, this is about women's issues. What's it like at the moment?
Well, let me just, because we're on the phone now, given the technological uphill we're facing with just hundreds of thousands of people chewing up the various cell phone data towers that we have here in Washington, let me just describe what I'm seeing. I'm standing outside a subway station and people are just streaming onto the streets from the underground. They haven't stopped coming. We've been here since 8 o'clock in the morning. People have not stopped coming and the march itself has still not got underway. And that just talks about the reaction to the inauguration of Donald Trump. I think he did very little in his inauguration address yesterday, Tabile, to allay the fears of certain people on the center left and on the left, progressive people, certainly. And many analysts were looking to Donald Trump to sort of reach across the aisle, if you will, and people here don't feel he did that. I'll just read you some of the signs I'm seeing right now. Nasty women stand and fight. You'll remember he famously referred to women to Hillary Clinton in one of the debates as a nasty woman. White silence is violence, says another poster. Show us your tax returns. Science is real, Tabile. This is what fierce looks like. And of course, you mentioned some celebrity turnouts. We're told Beyonce is involved in some capacity. Actress Cher, Scarlett Johansson, America Ferrara of Ugly Betty fame. Ashley Judd, Angelique Kidjo from Africa is going to participate. Michael Moore, who won the Oscar for An Inconvenient Truth. So a strong celebrity turnout at this march here today, something perhaps we did not see at the inauguration or any of the Trump events leading up to today.
Sherwin, perhaps something else we can look at are the sentiments around this protest. I mean, earlier on, you mentioned how the focus, and some of the protesters you spoke to mentioned how the focus is on women's issues. But what about the statements that Trump had made during his campaign trail about Mexicans, about Muslims? Are we seeing that coming out of this protest today?
Absolutely. I mean, women certainly have shown up in force. I think the protest essentially was birthed out of Donald Trump's lured comments about grabbing women on that videotape that was leaked during the presidential campaign. So this started off as a reaction to his statements on women. But protests, by their very nature, tend to include a number of issues. I mean, Donald Trump has said many things about climate change being a hoax. He has said many things about Mexicans being rapists. He has made many disparaging comments about the inner cities where black people live. And so you're seeing a plethora of issues on the table. Here today, you are seeing a broad demographic that is representative of a diverse United States, and perhaps something we did not really see on the steps of Capitol Hill yesterday with the turnout that we did see for Donald Trump's inauguration. So, even if we talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, even those protests last year tended to have other issues also on the table. So you're seeing very much a movement here together, people banding together, not dependent on what particular issue it might be, but standing together unified against what they see as a threat to a multitude of issues, Tabile.
Now, Sherwin, speaking of that inauguration, following the protests that we saw yesterday as well as these protests today, have we heard anything from the White House, or is Trump's camp simply quiet?
Well, I haven't seen a tweet from Donald Trump as president this morning, and I'm sure he is watching. I'm sure he's very much aware of what is going on the streets of Washington. This is now his new hometown, having moved into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, which is the address of the White House. And if history is our guide, Tabile, Donald Trump tends to take a great deal personally when people, whether it's in parodies on Saturday Night Live or where certain news stations call him out, he takes directly to them. He shoots exactly straight from the hip. And we haven't heard from him yet, but I'm very, very sure. I mean, his intelligence briefings must certainly include the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of people on the streets of Washington, and they are not here to support him.
Sherwin, thank you very much for that update. We'll have to leave it there for now. That was our U.S. correspondent, Sherwin Bryce Pease, joining us on the line.